Welcome back to the Celtic 40 Days of Lent. This is day 17, Friday, the second week of Lent. And David Cole has another book that he's recommending us to read. It's written by Ray Simpson and Kevin Matthew. Ray, R-A-Y, Simpson, S-I-M-P-S-O-N, and Kevin, K-E-V-I-N, Matthew, M-A-T-H-E-W, 2005. A Pilgrim's Way to New Celtic Monasticism for Everyday People. A Pilgrim's Way to New Celtic Monasticism for Everyday People. Now, he talked about in the book, and I've also experienced it myself, a lot of people say, well, isn't committing to that kind of a program or a rule of way or a discipline or whatever you want to call it, isn't that hard? Doesn't it make your life more difficult? Isn't it a bother? Don't you worry about it? And I have to say, for me, that's not the case. And I've talked to other people that are in other religious paths, Buddhist and Hindu and some Native American shamans and even some that practice divine feminism. And I found it interesting in just talking to them about, do you have a particular spiritual practice? Do you have a time that you set aside for prayer or meditation or chanting or whatever your model is? And every one of them have said that it's actually helped them, not only spiritually but physically. So I went back and did some studies, and I found some interesting literature or some interesting studies that had been done in medical institutions, that they found that people that like mindful meditation, people that either prayed regularly or meditated regularly, they actually had lower blood pressure, better heart rates. It's pretty phenomenal that doing this not only has an effect on our physical body or spiritual body, but also our physical body. So I would encourage you to kind of take a look at that. One thing that David Cole talked about in the book was the fact that the word rule, translated from Latin and Greek, means trellis. And he made the point that sometimes when you're creating a spiritual practice, it's not about thinking about it as we do today, a rule, which is, oh God, something you've got to do. But think about, you're building a trellis, and in that trellis, you're allowing an opportunity for all sorts of plants and people and places and spiritual enlightenment to move up that trellis or that rule, and to allow you to be more connected to your own spiritual path. Today's reading is from Mark chapter 2, verses 23 through 28. On Sabbath, Jesus was going through the cornfields, and they made their way. His disciples began to pluck heads of grain. The Pharisees said to him, "Look, why are they doing that? It's not lawful on Sabbath." And he said to them, "Have you never read what David did when he and his companions were hungry and in need of food? He entered the house of God when Abiathar was high priest, and ate the bread of presence, which is not lawful for any but the priest to eat. And he gave some to his companions. Then he said to them, 'The Sabbath was made for humankind, and not humankind for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath.'" Mark chapter 2, verses 23 to 28. Our prayer for today: Holy and loving one, as we grow in you, may we know the freedom which comes from our personalities, which you have given us. Guide me to know what to use as a framework for my growth, to aid me and give me strength in you. Amen. May the peace of the God of joy go with you. May the love of the peace of the joy, the love of Christ go with you. May the peace of the grace of Spirit go with you. Thank you again for joining me today. Bishop Sophia Angela.